Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
8:37, O'Connor and Company. We've established that grown men do, in fact, have hairy chests, and there's nothing wrong with it, and you don't have to go through extraordinary means to remove that hair, right? Have we established that, Jill?
As well, we have established that 30-year-old women are not old. Okay, there we go.
Don't drag me
Yes,
back
you
into
did.
that. And let's not drag Attorney General Jason Miyares into the question of hairy chests or Taylor Swift. He joins us now. You know what you're getting when you come on this show, Mr.
I have
Attorney
no
General.
idea what I just walked into. That's all I'm saying. None.
Well, no worse than attending a school board meeting in Fairfax or Loudoun
Good
County,
point.
certainly.
Good point.
We got a lot to get to. Let's first ask you about last night's vote at the Loudoun County School Board. They are defying the Education Department. They are just fine being in violation of Title IX. They are sticking with their gender policies. First of all, is that a violation of any state law in Virginia? I know that the governor has put out directives for school boards, but do they have the autonomy to do this?
Well, listen, it's a free country. They can make these type of decisions, but now they have to deal with the possible consequences. And the possible consequences is it's going to be a clear violation of Title IX. It's going to be, I fully expect there's probably going to be some type of litigation that's going to be involved. And the idea that they would put in millions of dollars at risk of federal funding ought to preserve a policy that 15 years ago, everybody would have thought was insane. If I was going to say 15 years ago, a school district was going to risk federal dollars, federal funding, because they were insistent that biological boys could be in women's private places, could be in their bathrooms, could be in their locker rooms, could be on overnight trips, and to play on their sports team. Nobody would have believed you.
Right.
But this shows you just how far to the left, how aggressively to the left the Democratic Party has shifted. This is not something anybody could have foreseen. And I tell my team all the time, it's never too late to do the right thing, right?
Yeah.
I always say it's still not too late for them to do the right thing. They're going to have to now deal with the consequences of what the federal government is going to be doing. But right now, it just seems like a totally misguided, misplaced effort. And it's what I've said before, being so open-minded, your brain falls out. This is Exhibit A.
Yeah.
This is unbelievably leftist ideology masquerading as policy is exactly what this is.
Well, you mentioned consequences, and it isn't as though we haven't seen consequences of these insane policies. Obviously, the sexual assault of a student in a Loudoun school, and also you've launched an investigation into Loudoun schools after those boys were filmed in a bathroom by a young woman.
Right.
What is the status of that investigation? You might not be able to talk about it, but what is the status of that investigation?
Well, I am limited because it is ongoing, and you'll see some announcements coming forth on that. But what I will say is to remind your listeners, this just shows you the insanity of when left-wing ideology masquerades as policy. Mm-hmm. These are boys in a locker room that simply told a biological female that looked, by all accounts, as a female, walked in the room and started recording them in a locker room, and they telling her, you need to leave. And then to saying, go after them, even for using the wrong pronouns. This is exactly the type of pushback that everyday Virginians look at and they think, what in the world is happening right now with some of these school boards pushing this far left ideological extreme agenda that is so far outside of the mainstream, so far out of common sense. And I think that's why you're seeing, candidly, for the first time, so many Virginians and Americans are paying so much close attention to their school board races, because I've often said it's the most important election that people don't pay attention to by far.
Yeah.
And most people have traditionally skipped it. Now I think people are realizing when you get a leftist on a school board that's pushing a leftist agenda, it can really change a school district and your child's safety overnight. And it really does show, you mentioned my earlier investigation of Loudoun School Board. This is when a biological boy had put on a skirt and then brutally sexually assaulted that girl, and then they transferred to another school.
Yep.
Yeah, I think one of the most damning things of that whole investigation was that when the first sexual assault was taking place, a teacher walked in on it while it was taking place and did nothing. And when they said why, when they were asked in front of the grand jury, and the grand jury report was unsealed, so I'm not revealing anything that was confidential in the grand jury. But when the teacher was asked, well, why didn't you do something? Their response was, because it's not that unusual to see 2 pairs of legs in a bathroom stall at a Loudoun County public school. Now, all of us should take us back to when we were in middle school. If you get caught smoking in the boys' room, you're going to the principal's office. Now it's like you go in, oh, there's two pairs of legs in a bathroom stall. I'm not quite sure what's happening. I'm just going to leave. That's what's happening right now, and why so many parents have been so concerned about what's happening. So I think we're kind of at a tipping point.
Well, I agree, and people see that stuff and they get frustrated because, listen, the election 4 years ago when you were elected by the people of Virginia as Attorney General, it was to reverse a lot of that. And it's frustrating for people to know that, well, the school district seems to have some level of autonomy even over state law and what you're able to do. And that goes to the crime issue. I know that you've been watching with great interest in what President Trump is doing in the District of Columbia using his executive powers. In Fairfax County, we've got a Commonwealth's attorney who is, basically turning Fairfax County into what D.C. is looking like right now. He's ignoring the law. He's not prosecuting to the fullest extent. He's downgrading charges. I know he was elected, but don't you have some level of authority over these Commonwealth's attorney, Mr. Attorney General? Can't you crack down on him directly?
Well, I mean, I'll get to the D.C. part second. To answer your direct question, no, because in the Code of Virginia and the Constitution, they're called constitutional officers. And so I have some authority. Obviously, I have about a dozen areas of the law in which I have essentially direct authority to prosecute, right? Everything else would be concurrent with the permission of the local CAs. And when it works like when we did my office assisted with a cop killer case down in Southwest Virginia. We're assisting with a no-body homicide right now in Newport News. When you have Commonwealth attorneys, what happens is they either have a conflict or they come to us with a case of complexity, or they don't have a manpower to do it, and we come in and we assist as well. But this is very different than Florida. If you remember, Governor DeSantis removed a local district attorney that was woke and wasn't following the law. And I remember distinctly having a conversation with Governor Youngkin where he said, hey, let's look at this. And I said, well, their constitution is very different. These are constitutional officers, i.e. Commonwealth attorneys, commissioner of the revenues, are your local treasurer. They are completely, and your local sheriff, they are elected completely separate from our state authority. And so one of my jobs, though, is now I have asked repeatedly, because I've said victims deserve a second chance, for more expansive authority for exactly that. When you have local CAs that view themselves as social workers, just like Toscano does, by the General Assembly, they won't give it to me. So they're perfectly fine with these CAs continuing to essentially act in a reckless manner with their constituents.
All right. Thank you for shedding light on that. We got to leave it there. Good luck with the campaign. Thanks for checking in with us. You were campaigning down at Buc-ee's, by the way. Did you get, and I use the term advisedly, did you get any beaver nuggets?
I did not, but I got beef brisket sandwich, and it was amazing. I've never had one before, and it really is. As I said, Virginia gave Texas Sam Houston and Stephen F. Austin. Texas gave us Buc-ee's. God bless you, Texas.
That's true. Probably a good one. I'll take the trade, actually. Thank you, Attorney General Jason Miyares. It's 8:45. WMAL traffic and weather. See, we went from Travis Kelce's Hairy Chest to Beaver Nuggets. We came full circle.
You saved it. I think you did well. Yeah, I think it's all good.